Let's talk about the tape measure. Oh, don't you look away from me now, because you know exactly which one I'm talking about. So, grab a drink, sit down, and let's spill the absolute tea on what is actually going on between your legs and inside your head. Let's talk about your dick. No polite euphemisms, no clinical Latin, no beating around the bush, your actual physical dick, and the absolute psychotic mind game you are playing with yourself over it every single day. Look at me. I spent 40 years letting a piece of plastic tape measure and a number on a digital screen tell me whether I was allowed to be happy, whether I was allowed to get laid, or whether I should just pack it in and end my own life. I am sitting here as a man who survived the absolute darkest, most anxious, suicidal corners of this exact obsession. And I am looking you dead in the eye to tell you that the gay community has turned intimacy into a toxic, digital meat market spec sheet, and it is completely destroying our mental health. We open an app on our phones, and before anyone even bothers to ask for a name, a greeting, or how your day went, it is an instant checklist. Top, bottom, verse, height, weight, how many inches? We have successfully reduced the entire, vast, beautiful universe of a human soul down to a rigid manufacturing specification. We log on and browse through profiles like we are ordering a replacement part on Amazon, and if the numbers don't match some arbitrary fantasy, we hit delete. The tragedy is that we don't just do this to other people, we do it to ourselves. We look at ourselves in the mirror like we are a defective product before the clothes even hit the floor. We have swallowed a massive, profitable lie whole. We tell ourselves that if we just had 2 more inches, if we were just shaped like the anomalous, genetically blessed actors on our browser tabs, we would finally be confident. We think that extra skin would suddenly make us bold, cure our loneliness, and guarantee that we would be loved. But baby, that is the ultimate illusion, and it's a scam. The data from the clinics and the psychiatrists proves what I had to learn through decades of bloodshed. The anatomy isn't what's broken. The cage you are locked in was built entirely inside your own head. Let's dissect how we got here, because we aren't born hating our bodies. We are conditioned into it by a culture that profits off our isolation. You watch adult media, yes, porn, where every performer looks like a biological miracle, and you take that fantasy standard and treat it like the absolute bare minimum baseline for entry into gay intimacy. You see the jokes on social media, the casual cruelty in group chats, and the hyper-sexualized standards plastered across every circuit party poster and underwear ad. You internalize all of it until your self-worth is entirely externalized. You stop viewing your body as a vessel for pleasure, connection, and life, and you start viewing it as an object to be judged, graded, and rejected. We partition ourselves into these absurd, rigid boxes. We decide what positions we are allowed to take in the bedroom, how we are allowed to carry ourselves in public, and what kind of partners we are allowed to pursue based entirely on a measurement. We let a ruler dictate whether we get to be the aggressive one, the vulnerable one, the giver, or the receiver. Think about how insane that is. It is a level of savage self-objectification that we would be screaming from the rooftops about if straight society tried to force it on us. Yet we willingly inflict it on ourselves every single night before we go to sleep. This isn't just about sex, honey. This is about a deep, paralyzing fear of being inadequate, a fear of being abandoned, and a fear of being unloved that we mask as a physical, structural problem. You are chasing a physical solution to a deeply spiritual wound, and it will never, ever work. Let's look at the actual math of what this obsession is costing you. Because this isn't some harmless, silly little insecurity you can just laugh off at brunch. This is a massive, quiet engine of isolation that is driving men into voluntary exile. When you look at the actual data compiled on gay and bisexual men, the numbers are absolutely horrifying. Statistics show that roughly 20% of our community, that is, 1 out of every 5 gay men, have completely walked away from a hookup, a date, or a genuine romantic opportunity purely because they were paralyzed by what the other guy would think of their size. Let that sink in. 1/5 of our brothers are sitting home alone in the dark right now, turning down human warmth, physical pleasure, and real emotional connection because of pure, unadulterated genital shame. You know exactly how that movie plays out because you've starred in it. You're texting a guy on an app. The banter is electric, the chemistry is popping, and the conversation is genuinely witty, sexy, and real. You feel that spark of excitement in your chest, and then he sends the message. Come over. My place is free. In that exact split second, the excitement vanishes and the freezing panic hits your bloodstream. The toxic, abusive voice in the back of your brain starts screaming its usual script. It asks you, what happens when the lights go on? It asks, what happens when the pants come off? It whispers, what if he looks disappointed? What if he rolls his eyes? What if he ghosts you right there in his bedroom? So, what do you do to protect yourself? You lie. You make up some fake, sudden excuse. You tell him something unexpected just came up at work, or you suddenly feel a migraine coming on, or you just turn off your phone and ghost him completely. You delete the app, crawl into bed, and sit on your couch in the quiet. You wrap yourself in a blanket and tell yourself that you're just being smart. You tell yourself you are protecting your dignity, saving your feelings, and avoiding the pain of being rejected by an asshole. But honey, let's strip away the ego and call it exactly what it is. It is pure self-degradation. You aren't being rejected by him. You are rejecting yourself before he even has a chance to look at your face. You are sentencing yourself to solitary confinement based on a hypothetical scenario you manufactured out of your own fear. You are the prisoner, you are the guard, and you are the one turning the key in the lock. Every single time you let that fear win, you are trading your finite, precious youth and your limited time on this earth for a number on a wooden ruler. You are missing out on the messy, beautiful reality of human skin, the midnight conversations, the physical release, and the profound vulnerability that actually makes being alive worthwhile. All because you've decided your body isn't worthy of space. When you spend years prioritizing a physical metric over your own mental health, something deep inside your psychological wiring snaps. You don't just stay insecure. You develop a profoundly warped, toxic genital self-image. And the clinical, psychological repercussions of that are absolutely devastating. The peer-reviewed psychiatric research isn't guessing or estimating about this. Studies have repeatedly shown a direct, brutal correlation between poor genital self-image and massive, sky-high scores on clinical depression and anxiety scales. This isn't just feeling a little self-conscious at the pool. This is an ongoing, low-grade daily trauma that relentlessly wears down your central nervous system until you are completely vulnerable to deep clinical despair and suicidal ideation. The irony of this mental prison is almost sadistically cruel, because the science shows that men who obsess over their size experience substantially higher rates of actual physical erectile dysfunction and severe performance anxiety. Think about how the human body works, baby. True physical intimacy and sexual function require your nervous system to be relaxed, open, and connected. But when you approach a sexual encounter like it's a final exam you're about to fail, you flood your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. Your brain perceives that panic as a threat, like you're being chased by a predator, and it literally shuts down the blood flow to your pelvis. Your obsession physically manufactures the exact failure, the exact rejection, and the exact limpness that you were terrified of in the first place. Your mind is sabotaging your flesh. And because this anxiety runs so deep into the core of our masculinity and our queer identity, it makes us the absolute perfect, vulnerable targets for absolute predators online. The internet is teeming with modern-day snake oil salesmen selling dangerous, unproven extension pumps, toxic pills, sketchy stretching routines, and highly risky surgical procedures designed to exploit your desperation. There are men out there right now literally mutilating their own healthy tissue, destroying their nerve endings permanently, and spending tens of thousands of dollars trying to fix a deep psychological wound with a steel surgical knife. They are looking for a physical solution to an emotional trauma. I know this trap intimately because I used to live in it. I remember clear as day those horrific nights where the weight of that perceived inadequacy felt so heavy that it ceased to be a simple body insecurity. It felt like a terminal medical diagnosis. You look down at yourself, you look in the mirror, and you don't see a creative professional, a loyal friend, a loving partner, or a brilliant human being. You don't see a man at all. You just see a walking, talking failure. You become your own abusive bully, your own hanging judge, your own jury, and your own internal executioner. But let me give you the ultimate truth that the data proves and that survival guarantees. The anxiety does not live between your legs. It never did. Even if a plastic surgeon could magically wave a wand and give you the exact, oversized anatomy you think you want today, that critical, abusive, hateful voice inside your head wouldn't suddenly fall silent. It wouldn't give you peace. It would just pack up its bags and move to a new target. Tomorrow, it would start whispering that your hairline is receding too fast, or that your stomach isn't flat enough, or that your face is aging, or that you aren't making enough money. The physical body is simply the convenient scapegoat for a mind that has made a subconscious agreement to hate itself. So, how the hell do we step out of the cage? How do you look past a distorted genital self-image when the entire digital world around you is screaming from morning until night that size is the only currency that matters? You have to fundamentally change the currency of your happiness. You have to look at the actual reality of sex, intimacy, and human connection, rather than the cartoon fantasy you've been fed. Let's look at what actually happens when real human beings have sex. When partners are surveyed in clinical studies about what actually creates a fulfilling, mind-blowing, memorable sexual and emotional relationship, physical dimensions and measurements consistently rank right at the dead bottom of the list. Do you know what actually sits at the top? Total presence, true confidence, radical vulnerability, playfulness, communication, and pure, unadulterated enthusiasm. It is the ability to look another human being in the eyes, strip away the armor, and show up fully as a person. You are a complete, complex, beautiful human being, not a slab of meat to be measured on a Grindr spec sheet. When you decide to stop treating yourself like a commercial product, you completely strip away the power of anyone else to objectify you. The next time you are lying in bed with a man, I want you to consciously pull your awareness out of your head. Stop evaluating your performance, stop calculating the inches in your mind, and stop treating the encounter like an audition. Pull your awareness into your senses. Focus entirely on the warmth of the skin, the sound of the breath, the taste of the kiss, and the actual, raw exchange of erotic and emotional energy between two souls. True intimacy is not a sport to be scored or a performance to be graded. It is a language of connection. The secret that the hyper-masculine culture doesn't want you to know is that vulnerability is the ultimate aphrodisiac. When you stop hiding, when you stop apologetically managing your body, and when you just show up with an open heart and a wild desire to connect, you become magnetic. Confidence isn't the absence of insecurity. Confidence is the absolute refusal to let an insecurity dictate your behavior. The moment you decide that your pleasure and your connection are more important than your performance metrics, the prison bars start to melt away.
I am standing at a place in my life where I can finally see the entire, long trajectory of this struggle. I can look back at the decades of panic, the tears, the avoided glances, and the lonely nights, and from this vantage point of age and survival, I can tell you exactly what survives the test of time. When you get to the later chapters of your life, honey, absolutely nobody gives a damn about the numbers on your old dating profile. The tape measure becomes entirely irrelevant. The men who have loved me deeply across my life, the ones who truly held my heart, didn't love me because of an anatomical measurement. They loved me because of the way I looked at them when they were talking. They loved me because of how I held them in the middle of the night when their world was crashing down. They loved me because of my wit, my resilience, my unshakable passion, and my capacity to look past their own broken pieces and see the beauty of their soul. Your anatomy is not a metric of your value as a man, a sexual partner, a lover, or a human being. Your obsession with it is an emotional cancer that is actively stealing your youth, robbing your sanity, and draining your joy. I nearly traded my entire existence on this earth for that exact lie. I wasted the best years of my youth waiting to feel perfect or enough before I allowed myself to fully love, fully explore, and fully be loved. I sat on the sidelines of my own life because I thought I didn't have the right ticket for admission. Don't make the same tragic mistake I did. Don't waste your precious, beautiful, fleeting years holding your peace of mind hostage over an illusion. The world out there is already going to try to commodify you, put a label on you, and reduce you to a disposable number. For the love of God, stop doing their dirty work for them. Put down the tape measure once and for all. Forgive your body for not matching a toxic, fictional ideal on a screen, and start treating the man in the mirror with some real, raw, unshakable dignity. The door to your freedom has never been locked from the outside, baby. You are the one who has been holding the key the whole time. Take your power back from the apps, step out of the cage, and start living your life. If today's video touched a nerve, you're not alone. There are thousands of men carrying invisible wounds they never talk about. wounds created by shame, comparison, rejection, fear, and the lie that they are somehow not enough. Here at the Inner Closet, we talk about those things openly, because healing begins the moment we stop hiding. And remember, the most important measurement in your life was never the one on a ruler. It's the size of the life you're willing to live. I'll see you in the next one. I love you all.